Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And breaking news, the Springbok management have announced a bit of a shock squad for the Rugby World Cup that'll take place next month with some massive players missing out in the form of Andre Pollard, Lekanya, as well as Luit de Jager. But we have a confirmation about why that has happened and who the players on standby will be for this 33-man squad, which will depart for Europe on Saturday, the 12th of August. They will be playing against Wales and Cardiff in 2 weeks' time before facing New Zealand and Twickenham before heading to Toulon for their training camp ahead of their opener against Scotland. Now, before we look at the team, look at the squad, and go through the press release and understand exactly what's happened, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so in terms of the squad, there it is. That is your 33-man squad that is going over to France. And let's go through it, shall we? I want to go through it in terms of more sort of positionally. Unfortunately, that's the way they announced it, so that's the way our graphics sort of ended up looking like. But I'm going to have a look at how it looks all for per position. So we have gone with 5 props in Stephen Kitsov, Vincent Clark, Frans Maherbe, Oxenchair, Chevin-Yakani. I don't think there's too many surprises about that. Thomas Toy was the other option. For me, it was always going to be a bit of a coin toss between Thomas Toy and Chevin-Yakani. I'm a massive Trevor fan, so I'm quite happy with that. I think our props are pretty well covered. We have only named 2 specialist hookers. Now, that's quite concerning to a certain degree. And we'll have to make sure that Malcolm Marx, Bongi Mnambi are really managed well. But Dion Free has been named as a utility forward, and he will cover flank as well as hooker. So the locks are the interesting one. No Luit de Jager. And as a result, the 4 locks that have been named are Eben Etzebeth, Jean Klein, very surprised, called up there, Marvin Orie, and Archia Snyman. So I think some people, a lot of us were sort of going Marvin Orie or Jean Klein, but then the chest complication to Luit de Jager has meant that both of them, in fact, have been picked. The loose forwards are Pierre Step Toy, Sia Khaleesi will captain the side, Kwagga Smith, Marco Verstappen, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Jasper Wiese. I think we're looking at 2 out-and-out 6s, one out-and-out number 7, 2 out-and-out 8 men, and then a Kwagga Smith who can play across the entire back row. So lots of versatility there, lots of options there as well. So it's pretty straightforward there. And then you've got the likes of Dion Free and Franco Mostert who can slot in where needed. Personally, I actually think that we'll see Franco Mostert starting at 5. Potentially going into the World Cup, and I reckon he'll probably actually step into the shoes vacated now by Luit de Jager. So those are the forwards that we have picked. We've taken 4 scrum halves. That for me is a very interesting call. In fact, de Klerk, Jane Henson, Kobus Reinach, and Grant Williams, who despite the concussion has been back. Jaden Hendrickse, despite having played 0 minutes of Springbok rugby this year, has also been picked. Now, yes, Faf de Klerk, for example, can cover 10 if needs be. Kobus Reinach and Grant Williams can cover wing if need be, but still very, very strange to go with 4 scrum halves and only go with one. Well, they've put Damien Williams down as a fly half, but we're only one true out-and-out fly half in Manie Libbok. So the fly halves are Manie Libbok and Damien Willemse. I think Manie Libbok has firmly sort of confirmed himself as the number 1 choice. Willemse might play at 10, for example, against Romania. But I tell you what, it's amazing how Rugby World Cup hopes have suddenly become hinged on the form and the kicking ability of Manie Libbok, with that goal kicking sort of very, very much a concern for the Springboks. So, yeah, if we look at the centres, Damien De Allende, Andre Esterhuizen, and Jesse Creel, I don't think, for me, I thought those guys were always going to go, even regardless of what's happened with Lekanya. I don't think that was necessarily hinging on the fact that one of those 3 have gone because Lekanyam's injured. I personally think that the Lekanyam injury has actually opened the way for Kane Moody. So if we look at the outside backs, Curtly Arendse, Cheslin Colby, Willie Leroux, Maximo Pimpi, Kane Moody. 4 wings and a fullback in Willie Leroux. Obviously, you've got fullback options in a Damien Willemse as well as a Curtly Arendse if needs be. But no utility backs being listed, which is something that we've kind of gotten quite used to, I suppose, in previous box squads of the past. So in terms of the players who haven't made it, there are 9 of them, and they are on standby. So there are 6 players who will be going over as sort of your standby players, of which they do feature Andre Pollard, Lekanya, and Luit de Jager. So they are part of the 9 on standby players who can come into the World Cup if there are injuries. So in terms of the standby players, they are Lekanya, Luit de Jager, Jean-Luc Dupré, Thomas du Toit, Joseph Dweber, Herschel Yankees, Andre Pollard, Evan Roos, and Gerard Stenenkamp. The 5 that will be travelling with them to the UK on Saturday will be Thomas Dutoy, Jean-Luc Dupré, Joseph Weber, Andre Pollard, and Nakanya Am. So no Diaga, no Evan Roos, for example, no Steenekamp. Very interesting to see that Jean-Luc Dupré, for example, and again, that's kind of come down to the injury to Luat Diaga, has all of a sudden become quite an important player to this team itself. So, yeah, in terms of speaking about the squad, they've named a youth and experience. So I think that's probably quite a good way of looking at it. There are lots of inexperienced or young players in the likes of, a Caden Moody. Kurt Lawrence is going for his first. Jaden Hendricks is very young. Grant Williams is quite young. Monty Leibach's not even that old, to be honest. So in his mid-20s. I wouldn't put him as a youngster. But not as experienced squad as we would have liked to have named, when you think that if you put in a Pollard, a Diaga, and a Kanya you're putting in over 150 caps into the squad. There are 19 forwards and there are 14 backline players in the squad. And it's in terms of what has kept those 3 players out. Lakanya suffered a knee injury in last weekend's match against Argentina. Andre Pollard has been on the sidelines with a calf injury, which just hasn't recovered, which is very frustrating because they kind of thought it was going to be fine for the start of the Rugby Championship, then fine for the warm matches, and now is actually keeping him out of the World Cup. And then Luat Diaga is undergoing a specialist evaluation for potential chest problem, which doesn't sound good at all. So really good, fingers crossed that he comes through that and they manage to diagnose what's going on, and hopefully it's nothing too serious and he can really get back to it. So yeah, there are 12 new players who'll be making their first appearance at the World Cup. They are Oxen Chair, well, for the Springboks anyway. They are Oxen Chair, Jean Clay, Marvin Ori, Marco Verstappen, Jasper Wiese, Dion Fourie, Jaden Hendricks, Grant Williams, Molly Leibach, Andre Estes, and Kurt Lawrence, and Kanan Moody, all making their first appearances at a Rugby World Cup. Let me know what you think about the squad down in the comments below. Please do smash the like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you soon.